Dawn breaks over Bienville Parish, Louisiana. A dirt road lies empty and the air thick with dust. Hidden in the grass, 6 officers wait, silent, ready, watching for a pair whose names have haunted the South for months. Suddenly, a tan Ford V8 appears. Inside, a young man driving, a cigarette in hand, and a woman in the passenger seat. Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker. The car slows, then the engine roars. Gunfire follows. Seconds later, the Ford is riddled with bullets. When the smoke clears, the couple inside is still. Their reign of violence ends exactly as it began, fast, ruthless, together. Before the ambush, there was Texas, the Great Depression, and a chance meeting in 1930. What began as love soon turned into a storm of robberies, kidnappings, and murders that gripped America. 2 small-town lovers, 1 Ford V8, and a trail of blood across America. How did it come to this? How did a 19-year-old waitress become America's most wanted? How did the couple outsmart sheriffs, troopers, and federal agents across 5 states? And how did loyalty, of all things, finally bring them down? This is the story of Bonnie and Clyde, America's most notorious couple. West Dallas, 1930, a place where smoke from the factories mixed with the dust kicked up by kids. Bonnie Parker was one of them. 19, sharp-eyed, restless, too smart for her surroundings, too ambitious for a life of waiting tables. Her father had died when she was 4, so her mother moved the family closer to relatives. Bonnie excelled at school, wrote poetry, and dreamed of bigger things. But dreams didn't feed a family. And in a world collapsing under the Great Depression, even nerdy girls learned that charm could be currency. She married young, Roy Thornton, a local troublemaker. He gave her a tattoo, Roy and Bonnie, above her right knee, and a few years of chaos. When he went to prison, she didn't bother divorcing him. She just stopped waiting. Then she met Clyde Chestnut Barrow. They met in January 1930 at a friend's house. Bonnie watching Clyde, Clyde watching Bonnie. Neither of them blinked. Within days, she was baking him meals. Within weeks, they were inseparable. Then all of a sudden, the short-lived romance ended. Clyde was arrested that February for a string of burglaries. Bonnie found herself writing letters to her convict boyfriend. When words failed, she acted. In March, she smuggled him a gun that he used to escape. Days later, he was captured again and sent to Eastham Prison Farm, a place known for breaking men. Eastham was no ordinary prison. It was a chain gang operation where guards shot first and asked questions later. Inmates worked in fields under the Texas sun, beaten for slowing down. Clyde was taken advantage of repeatedly, beaten, humiliated. To survive, he picked up a piece of iron and crushed the skull of his bully. Another inmate took the blame. When Clyde walked out 2 years later, he was no longer reckless. He was vengeful. Every cell in his body hated the Texas prison system. That hate became his purpose. When he reunited with Bonnie in 1932, she saw the change. The boyish charm was gone, but she chose him, fully, deliberately. They started small, grocery stores, gas stations, rural banks, quick in and outs, never for fortune, just survival. Bonnie found herself drawn deeper into the thrill. For her, it wasn't about the money. It was about being part of a story. The Barrow gang began to form around them. Clyde's brother Buck, his wife, and a handful of drifters with nothing to lose. Then came Hillsborough, Texas, April 1932. It was supposed to be a simple robbery. The target was John Bucher, a local store owner. But something went wrong. Panic, shouting, movement. Clyde pulled the trigger. Butcher fell dead. It was the first confirmed killing linked to Clyde Barrow, and the moment the line vanished between outlaw and murderer. From then on, they weren't just robbers, they were killers on the run. Bonnie was arrested briefly in Kaufman County after a failed heist. She was released weeks later and returned to Clyde's side. Whatever fear she had died in that cell. Together, they crossed state lines, turning small crimes into a spree that left officers, citizens, and sheriffs dead across Texas, Oklahoma, and beyond. By 1933, the Barrow gang was infamous. Newspapers painted them as glamorous renegades. Lawmen saw them as rabid animals. The truth was somewhere in between, but it did not end there. It set them up on the highway to hell. Bienville Parish, Louisiana, May 23, 1934. The Great Depression had gutted America's faith in authority. Banks foreclosed on families, sheriffs enforced evictions, and law became synonymous with loss. So when word spread of a young couple robbing the same institutions, people paid attention. They moved constantly, always a few miles ahead of the law. The gang drove stolen Fords, switched license plates, and slept in abandoned barns. Each state blamed another for letting them slip away. But the turning point came in Joplin, Missouri, April 1933. The gang had been hiding out in a small stone bungalow, posing as ordinary tenants. Neighbors reported heavy drinking, laughter, loud arguments, and gunfire echoing at night. Local police organized a raid. What they expected was a small-time bootlegger's den. What they got was a war zone. When the officers arrived, Clyde and Buck opened fire. Bullets tore through the narrow walls. 2 officers fell dead before they even drew their guns. Bonnie grabbed the getaway car, while Clyde and Buck blasted a path through the chaos. Within seconds, the gang was gone. Inside the bungalow, police found 6 rolls of undeveloped film, weapons, and poetry drafts. When the photographs were developed, America met the real Bonnie and Clyde. There was Bonnie, cigarette in mouth, leaning on the fender of a stolen Ford with a revolver on her hip. And there was Clyde, smiling with his arm around her. The photos spread across newspapers like wildfire. Editors couldn't resist the mix of glamour and violence. Officers called them a menace to decency. By the end of 1933, Bonnie and Clyde had become America's biggest contradiction. But how do you kill a story that the public wants to believe in? The answer would come soon enough. It's mid-1934, and the public's fascination with the couple had turned into embarrassment for law enforcement. Governors of Texas and Louisiana wanted the pair stopped at any cost. After 2 years on the run, the Barrow gang was reduced to 2 people, Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker, exhausted but still outmaneuvering the law. But then Frank Hamer came along. Hamer was no ordinary lawman, a former Texas Ranger. He was the kind of guy who didn't waste words or shots. He'd been semi-retired, but the state called him back with one mission: hunt down Bonnie and Clyde. He knew their kind: fast, reckless, and arrogant. He understood that chasing them the traditional way wouldn't work. Every sheriff and highway patrolman who tried had been humiliated or killed. Hamer approached it differently. He began to study them. He mapped every sighting, every robbery, every hideout. He noticed a pattern. The couple always circled the same states: Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Missouri, and Arkansas. They were like wolves, always returning to familiar ground. Clyde's loyalty to family and his obsession with meeting up with old prison buddies from Texas gave Hamer a trail. He built an informant network, quietly contacting locals, ex-convicts, and relatives of their former gang members. Clyde's loyalty was his weakness. In January 1934, he had staged a violent prison break at Eastham, freeing 5 inmates and killing 1 guard. Among the escapees was Henry Methvin, who joined Bonnie and Clyde for what would become their last run. Hamer followed this lead. He realized the couple had formed an attachment to Methvin's family, visiting their home in Louisiana between jobs. That was his opening. By spring, Hamer had assembled a 6-man task force: 2 Texas officers, 2 from Louisiana, and 2 from the federal prison system. These men were seasoned, quiet, and patient. For 3 months, they tracked every move the couple made, anticipating where they would resurface. Hamer knew Bonnie and Clyde would never surrender. There would be no negotiation, no trial. The only way to end it was an ambush. In May, Methvin's father cut a deal with authorities. In exchange for his son's pardon, he agreed to help lure the pair into a trap. He told them Bonnie and Clyde were planning to drive to his home along Highway 154, a desolate road in Bienville Parish, Louisiana. For 3 days and nights, Hamer's team lay in wait among the trees and brush, barely moving. Locals who passed by saw nothing unusual, just a few parked cars hidden off the gravel road. Then, on the morning of May 23, 1934, just after dawn, Hamer spotted the Ford rolling down the hill. Clyde was at the wheel, Bonnie beside him, her hand resting on his shoulder. Hamer raised his hand, the silent signal. He'd waited months for this moment. The command was quiet, final. Hidden behind the trees of Bienville Parish, 6 officers raised their rifles and waited. Down the dirt road came the Ford. Clyde spotted a stalled car ahead. He slowed down. Hamer gave the order. In seconds, over 150 rounds ripped through the Ford. Clyde died on the spot. Bonnie screamed once, then was gone. The car rolled into a ditch and stopped. Inside were shotguns, pistols, rifles, and over 1,500 rounds of ammunition. By noon, word had spread. Hundreds rushed to the scene, clawing at the bullet-riddled car for souvenirs, locks of Bonnie's hair, shards of glass, even pieces of her dress. The Ford became a traveling exhibit. Their funerals drew thousands, but Bonnie's mother refused her daughter's final wish, to be buried beside Clyde. Their deaths ended the Depression's most infamous love story. By the end of their run, Bonnie and Clyde had racked up 13 murders, around 15 bank heists, dozens of small-time robberies, and over 50 stolen cars across 5 states. And on that quiet Louisiana morning, the line between outlaw and icon died with them. Many of you have been emailing us asking about how we make our videos and how to follow the steps of this channel. But before going into technicalities, we thought it would be better for you to get informed on the basics of YouTube and how to go about building a YouTube career. We made a 6-page document to give you a realistic idea on what it takes to build a profitable YouTube channel, the do's and don'ts, as well as the biggest misconceptions about building a channel. It's a 5-minute read that will probably change the way you view this space. The guide is completely free. By downloading the guide, you'll automatically enter our email list. Starting December, if you choose to, you'll be receiving YouTube tips and insights on how to go full-time on YouTube, how to choose a niche, the ideation process, scripting, animations, all the way to packaging. To download the guide and be part of our community, click the first link in the description. We'll see you on the other side.